Harvey Green, our very first franchisee. You're going to be famous one day, mate.
One of these is going to take off.
100%. What I'd like to talk about today, Harves, is just your journey with the brand and obviously your journey with franchising overall. And I want to try ask some meaty questions just for anyone that obviously is interested in the brand, whether they're a franchisee, whether they're a member or just a fan of what we do, just to have a true unfiltered understanding of the brand as a whole, but more importantly, the people that are involved inside the brand. What I'd like to ask, mate, obviously you had an extensive experience within the existing team before you became a franchisee, but what I'd like to know is what were you most fearful of before becoming a franchisee and owning your own business?
Probably heaps, to be honest. There was tons because it was, I'd never ran a business or even really managed a team or anything crazy like that. So a lot of things I was really unsure or kind of fearful of. Obviously, the obvious one was like my whole life savings on the line. That was definitely the first initial fear. I remember the day where I was like, I had, I had all my money saved up. I had my loan in the account, so I had all this cash in my bank account, and then it was just like literally within a day it was like I got down to, in my personal account, I literally got down to my last like $670. I was like, Jesus Christ. It's like, God, what a fall from grace that is. I was like, geez, Harves, you're really doing this now. So yeah, that was the first initial obvious fear for sure. And then the next thing was probably the fear of it going really bad, or the fear of it even going really good as well, where it was like, can I handle if this thing goes to bust? Can I handle if it's like more successful than I can imagine? And it was just kind of the whole just uncertainty of it all, even things like, business finances and tax and accountants and lawyers and contracts and all this kind of stuff, that it was just, setting up a company was like mind blowing to me, just opening a bank account. So there was just so many things that, like you said, like you just don't know what you don't know. So when I was kind of getting into it, it was kind of like, geez, it was a bit overwhelming of like the amount of things that you kind of need to do when you first get started. But it was definitely a lot of help having like you and your mum and Danny and stuff like that kind of hold my hand through the process, just because I was so virgin to it all,
Absolutely. And you touched on it then. Do you think there has been value in having support from people who have been there and done that?
Yeah, for sure. I don't think it would have been no way that I could have done it on my own. I've had similar conversations with like friends in the past where they're like, oh, like, like what if you were just to open up your own joint, or like, people I've spoken to that like, oh bro, I'd like to like go open up my own boxing gym, even if it's just myself. And I'm like, dude, like there's just so many things that you just got no idea about. And like when you first kind of get involved in, it's just, there's so much going on, and it's kind of a bit overwhelming all at once, where, like you said, if you're not focusing on like the proper stuff, especially in the early stages when that's the most like vital time, and you spread thin across like, oh, my bank account, or oh, I've got to talk to my accountant about this, or all these things that just aren't super important and like pushing the business forward. It's just, especially in that initial crucial time where that's like super precious for growth. The help was, it'd almost be not impossible, but it would be extremely harder all by yourself for sure, doing your own thing.
What help has been the most helpful to you so far, or what support has been the most helpful to you so far?
Probably just like all the systems, I think, just like all the programming, all of the scripts, all of the ads, all of the onboarding experience. Like it's just everything. You just, you really don't have to think about, obviously you got to think about it, but for the most part, like it's just handled for you. It's like the movie script's been written up for you. You just got to read the lines, and that's all you got to do. So that has definitely been the biggest help, because you can just focus on, just the bandwidth of like thinking of new ideas or things like that. As you know, it takes so much time and so much mental energy trying to create new ideas or this, that, or programs or onboarding experience. So to have that kind of already solved for you is definitely a lot of bandwidth that you just get back, that you can invest back into, the important stuff for sure. So I'd say, like the systems and the processes, I'd say.
And how has owning your own HitFit impacted your life?
Pretty significantly, I would say. Like it went from obviously working in one for many years, but to owning one has been definitely a very big change. Like obviously financially, a big change. But even just like lifestyle, like now being like, a proper leader of like amongst my whole team, my mum, my dad, and even just myself personally, just trying to really like, managing my own time, managing my own schedule. So it has been very different where now, obviously you work for yourself. So it's kind of like, no one's there waking you up going, mate, you got stuff to do. You get up yourself, you do your own stuff, you stay, you have to come up with new ideas. So it is kind of, obviously you do get support, but you kind of like, you're out there by yourself doing stuff now. So it has been a lot different. And then obviously the financial jump has been pretty significant as well, which has kind of been a bit strange to kind of get used to as well, for sure.
Good problems to have. What have you learned about yourself during this process?
Very hard-hitting questions, aren't they? I would say that it's not as bad or not as scary as you first think, I guess, and that I would say that I think I'm more capable than I would have thought initially, even maybe still to this day. Even I was having a chat with a couple of the business owners that are members at my gym, and they run businesses as well, and I was talking business with them, just like, casual talk, and we're talking about shares or this, that, and just other things, and they were like, geez mate, like, sounds like you're more switched on than I am, and these are 40, 50-year-old blokes, whatever they are. And I said, oh mate, I don't think so. And they're like, mate, I think you know a lot more than you think. And I'm kind of just like, I'm just doing it a day at a time. So, but yeah, I would say I just would think that maybe a little bit more capable than I first thought. And yeah, that it's definitely very doable as well.
100%. And I think I can add to that anything in life is just a skill. And if you learn the skill, then you can do the thing, for the most part. Sure. And if you don't know how to do the thing, then the way to bridge that gap is just to learn the skill. And if you can learn the skill of people that have been there and done that, you just save a bunch of time.
I remember when I was still at Melton, and we had and I had a bit of a, what's the word? I don't know, a bit of a epiphany or whatever it's called, where I was sat there and I remember I was doing the sales, and we were going through, and I was getting commission at the time at the gym, just purely commission, just for working. And I remember looking back over the last like 4 or 5 months that I'd been working, and I was like, wow, like me personally and solely, like I've generated this much money for the business. So like, if this business was mine, like I would generate this money. And then I was like, wow, I just know how to do that now. And I remember I just had this huge coming to Christ moment. I was like, wow, like once I can do this for sure now. Like I know I can do this. And it sounds stupid, but it was true. It was like once I'd learnt it and once I knew I could do it, I was like, I can do this forever. Like I know how to do this now. So as stupid as it seems, it was like a big like mind opening kind of moment for me, where I was like, oh my God, like I'm doing this, I can do this. So it was funny. But like you said, it's just like learning a skill, isn't it? Learning a jab.
100%, exactly. And I think too, if you look at fitness business owners, why is one thriving? And let's say, why is one not thriving? And let's just say, theoretically, they both were working, just as hard as each other. Then what's the difference? Why is one successful and one's not successful? It's clearly because where they're putting their focus, but also the skills that they have, for sure. And if you can have better skills, you can get better results. I think working hard is very important up to a certain point, and I think the foundation of success is working hard. But I mean, you can spend 12 hours a day digging a hole with a shovel, or you can get a digger, and chances are you're going to dig a lot deeper. Exactly right. So I think it's that fine balance. And again, even for us as a company, my own journey, even though we support people like yourself, I get support from our board of directors and other people in the industry that have gone on to accomplish exactly what we want to accomplish. It just puts you in such better stead than trying to reinvent the wheel yourself. Like you can obviously come up with ideas and internalize like a process that someone done and kind of change it slightly to suit what you're doing. But I think the process of learning and then implementing is vital across no matter what you're doing in life, Sure.
No, I agree. Seeking mentors and people that have been there, done that before, definitely saves a lot of time, that's for sure. Especially like you said, when you're trying to, figure out a skill, it's like, why would you sit there and try work it out yourself? Like you said, the bandwidth that you can save just by like getting that answer straight away is, like you said, like you don't know how much energy, time and money and just mental bandwidth you're saving by getting that straight away, rather than if you had to go through that process by yourself first and then just got that answer straight away. It's like if you walked into a library and you're trying to figure out an answer for something, and you walked into a library and you searched through every single book and then you found out a day later you could just go on ChatGPT and find it like that, you'd be like, oh my God, like imagine I would have saved this whole day. So it's funny, yeah, but definitely seeking some advice or some direction is vital for sure, I agree.
Absolutely, mate. And what's been the hardest part of your business journey so far? And how do you think you've overcame it, or you're overcoming it on a regular basis?
Yeah, good question. Probably like a few different things. I think definitely staff and team. I mean, that's always an ongoing, not issue, but an ongoing teething process where, you know, you're helping the team, you're managing the team, you know, you're trying to push expectations further, where obviously you don't want to just be doing good, you want to be doing amazing in everything, and trying to get your staff motivated or incentivized or on the same, you know, inspiring them on the same kind of path that you're on, to obviously for us to make boxing a part of like the Australian culture, and trying to get them on that same wavelength where it's like, guys, we're not doing this just for, you know, we're trying to change the culture of like the country or like the state, and like we're not going to be able to do that. I can't do that myself. I need you guys to help me do that. But we all need to believe in the same vision for us to actually get there. So definitely like kind of inspiring the team and getting the team, you know, in the right direction and trained up properly. Working with families, obviously a big one as well, which is always going to be an ongoing thing, as a lot of people know, and as you know, you've worked with a lot of family in the past as well. Sometimes you have your, you know, your tiffs and this, that, because it is, you know, a different relationship where, you know, similar to if there was a fighter and a coach that were father and son, when the coach says to the son, you know, go run 5Ks at 5 a.m. Oh, piss off, Dad, like I'm not doing that, you know? Whereas if you had some other random person as your coach and they said, get up at 5 a.m. and run 5Ks, you would never turn around and say, oh, piss off to them, just because that's not your relationship, you know? So similar, you know, conversations can blow out, or, you know, personal can mix in with business sometimes, especially when we're still living at home together and stuff like that as well. So that's an ongoing issue as well. Not an ongoing issue, but, you know, something that we're definitely still working at. So yeah, I would say those things, just managing the team and working with family every now and then can get a little bit slippery, you know, but we make it work.
Absolutely, mate, absolutely. And what do you think are the key characteristics for someone to be successful in the fitness industry?
I think it's the same, you know, characteristics in any industry, to be honest, where it's just like, you know, I think the most important thing is just like the pure hunger of it, I guess, and just really working your ass off for it is, you know, by far the best. The biggest thing is just having pure work ethic, because that is, yeah, even if you do have all the skills in the world, if you just can't be asked getting up and making that call or staying back and filling out that Google sheet or sending that invoice, you know, oh, I'll do it tomorrow, then even if you do have the skills, like that's just gonna, you know, it's just gonna fade off or level itself out with someone who's got less skills but more work ethic. So I'd definitely say the work ethic is probably the, you know, the biggest thing first and foremost, definitely. The next thing is obviously the skills, because like you said, if you dig in a hole with a spoon versus a digger, it's just two different journeys, you know, or if you're in a, you know, a rowboat versus an engine boat, just two different aspects. But I would just say the characteristics would just be, just pure hunger, having extensive knowledge, you know, in the fitness industry, and having good people skills, you know, being a very likable person is a huge one, I would say, where if you can walk in a room, have 10 strangers and you're all best mates in 10 seconds, I don't think that's ever going to be a skill that's not going to serve you very well, not only in the fitness industry, but just in life in general, I think. So a few different things, but I don't think it would be too different to any other industry as well, to be honest.
And what's been the most rewarding part of your journey so far?
It's probably been a few things, to be honest. It's been like helping out, or like, you know, not changing their life, but like in a way changing the life of like mum and dad, where like mum left her job at the chemist and she works down at the gym full time now. Dad, you know, was always wanting to, you know, own a gym, you know, especially a boxing gym, own a boxing gym. That's like been his dream since he was a fighter, since he was like my age. And now that they are, you know, owners of a gym and managing and running their own gym now, has been definitely really rewarding. Like seeing mum, 5, 6, 7 years ago doing one-on-one PTs in our backyard to now like having a gym of 500-600 people, like it's been definitely very, very rewarding, that's for sure. And just kind of like, really taking a sit back, leaning back every now and then, going, "Geez, guys, like we're doing this." You know what I mean? Like look how far we've come from, 2 years ago to now. It's ridiculous, And then just like all the people that you meet, all the members, kind of the community that you kind of get down at the gym, and just honestly, it's just the people that you kind of meet along the way. But like anything, home is not where you live; it's the people that you're around, And same thing at the gym, where all the members that are there, it's just like, once you kind of befriend them and really get to know your community and your members, even people's lives that you like changed is definitely something that like sits in on the heartstrings as well. That's for sure,
Absolutely, mate, 100%. And what are you most excited about for the future?
Probably the same thing that I would have said last time as well, where it's just kind of like the unknown, or not the unknown, but the potential that I guess we could have with growth, for myself personally to, maybe open up a few more gyms, for the company to grow, God knows how big, hopefully take over the world. So yeah, I just think it would be, I think the next like 5 to 10 years is going to be really exciting for like everybody involved. And yeah, I'm just really excited to kind of see like how far we can take it really. And my goal, very similar to yours, where I just want it to just be, like what you see McDonald's, it's everywhere, or when you think of getting fast food on the way home, you think of Macca's, or when you think of watching a movie, you think of Netflix, or when you think about listening to music, you think of Spotify, and hopefully we can get boxing and HitFit on the same level, That would definitely be the most exciting thing, I'd say.
Absolutely, mate. It's a very worthy journey to be a part of, and it gives you a reason to wake up in the morning. I think having a vision and having a mission that extends beyond you as an individual and you as a company, at the end of the day, HitFit before HitFit is team boxing. And as you mentioned before, we're here to ingrain boxing in the Australian culture, and I think being able to do that, we might get a small percentage of the population, but the more people that we win over to love boxing, then as a company, our success will be a natural consequence of doing that. Yeah. It's not about, why HitFit's the best. No, it's about why boxing is so transformative. And really, boxing is the best, and we believe in it so much that we created a company to push that message, And I think having that, I don't know if it's selfless, because I guess it's just a different way to be selfish. Then obviously just, so like, yes, we love boxing and we want to change lives, but I think looking at it through that lens, we're all a part of this company because boxing has changed our lives in some way, shape or form, So it's like just making sure as you progress, like don't ever forget that, and don't forget actually what you're out here trying to do, And I think if you're able to stay grounded and grateful, then those are the type of people that typically take it the furthest, Yeah. What would you say to someone that's considering franchising with HitFit?
I would say, for me, I feel like it's like the most no-brainer decision ever. Obviously, everyone's got different circumstances with family or kids or spouses or this, that. So it is obviously something to consider, because a lot of people, if they were to open up one, I'm assuming they would go from being an employee or having a job to then running a business. So it would be very different for sure. But, what do they say? They say the man that has no risk does nothing, so it's very true. So that if you do want to, it's always going to come at a cost. And if you do want success and you do want to, live a lifestyle that you've always dreamt of, that it's not just going to get handed to you. You're definitely going to go out there and grab it. And if you're not willing to, any bit of success or any little bit of, success that's going to come your way is going to come at a cost for sure, no matter what it is. But like you said, it's just as hard as, doing anything else, laying bricks, getting up early, putting up a fence, whatever it is. Every job has work to do. And, like you said, we probably work just as hard as a lot of other people in the world. If not, people probably work harder than us. But if they're not working hard at the right thing, then, they can just channel that energy into a better vehicle, like something like this, and it will just get them so much further. Of course, it's going to come at a risk. Of course, it's going to come at a lot of uncertainty. Of course, it's going to come at a lot of sleepless nights or checking your bank account, freaking out. So, but that's just what it takes. And I've never met or heard a success story that hadn't had that part in it at all, you know, where it was just, oh yeah, we woke up and we had $1 million in the bank account and everything was sweet. It was like, you know, there was always some kind of form of you know, without light or without dark, there is no light. So it's, yeah, you got to definitely have both sides of the coin to feel it. But I would say do it, you know what I mean? I mean, what else are you going to do? You know, you're just going to sit around and, you know, just wait around to retire and then die and then just, oh yeah, I did nothing. I just played it safe my whole life and whatever. But even nowadays, I mean, even now, like playing it safe in the real world, I was saying this to mum and dad the other day, playing it safe nowadays is like almost riskier. It's like you're leaving it down to like an employer to like pretty much at his disposal can just ruin your life at any point. And if you're just on a normal salary and you get fired at any point, cost of living nowadays and everything else, it's freaking impossible to like, even on a normal wage, you're like just barely getting by. So in my opinion, that's riskier than like dumping your life savings into a gym. At least at that point, you know, you're either a victim of circumstance or you like carve your own destiny. So like at least I would prefer to carve my own destiny. That's just who I am. Because at least if I know that I'm in control of it, like I'm not going to let myself down, you know? So I would say do it because what have you got to lose, you know? A bit of money and a bit of time. Who cares, you know? So it's not going with you anyway. So
love that as a quote. A bit of money and a bit of time. As you know, Harves, a lot of people get into the fitness industry because they enjoy training others. However, once they start their own business, they realize it's much more than that. And there are obviously many skills that they have to learn, skills that are vital to running a business. And unfortunately, they have to learn it now while they're actually operating a business, as opposed to learn them skills prior and then do it, which is obviously a path of far less resistance. Yes. But unfortunately, that's not the case for most people in the fitness industry. Can you comment on whether having a playbook for running your franchise has been helpful and has that contributed to your success?
Yeah, definitely. Because similar to me, it's probably similar to you as well. When you first get started, like you said, anyone in the fitness industry, whether they're a trainer or they're a coach or they're whatever they are, it always starts from loving fitness in the first place and loving boxing in the first place, etc. And my mission alongside yours is to like really, you know, get as many people. I'm like, mate, I love this. This changed my life. Same with you. So I want the same kind of effect, or I want other people to have that experience as well. But I know that if I actually want to impact as many people as I want to impact, it's not just going to come from myself in my garage holding pads. Like I can only get so far doing that. So it is one of those things where you do have to take a step back, and you obviously got to focus on more managing and things like that, where if you do want to scale and reach the kind of people that you want to reach and actually have an impact on your community that you actually do want to have, it's not going to be you doing the classes. It's not going to be you teaching people how to do the squat or the jab or this, that. It's unfortunately not going to be that. You do have to take a step back, and you do have to, you know, put certain people in certain roles so that you can focus on, like you said, steering the boat in the right direction. But like I said before, definitely having a playbook and definitely having a playbook is probably the best way to explain it. Map everything out for you where it's like, sweet, these are like the three main things that I really want you to focus your energy on. You know, get people for these roles that, you know, obviously are important, but like obviously other people can do these other than yourself. Of course, you're going to do them better than anybody, but you need to do the things that people can't do, and that's what's actually going to push it forward. So having that playbook to really kind of just get it up and running, where you don't have to worry about the trainers as much because the programming's done. You don't have to think about the classes, that's already done. You don't have to think about the ads are already done. The sales script, it's already done. Even things like just, you know, booking people in, and, you know, all the automations and stuff we've got with all of our software, where they get check-in messages or when they get reminder messages and things like that, where it's, you know, you don't even have to worry about it, they just get done for you, is a huge, again, just saves bandwidth for your brain straight away, which is such a blessing, especially me, because I went from, before we had all of our automations, I was the one typing them out every single day to hundreds and hundreds of people. To get all that time back, you're like, oh my goodness, isn't that just a blessing? So it's definitely been a huge help having that playbook. It's been, I mean, can't even explain how much of a help it's been, for sure.
Yeah,
Absolutely. No, that's terrific to hear, mate. And talk about, I guess, when people, like you said, we mentioned before, people get into fitness is because they're passionate about training someone. How has your journey evolved? Like for me personally, like I got into the fitness industry for the same reason, because once I enjoyed boxing and then, okay, I want to help other people enjoy boxing too. And I actually enjoyed the art of whether it's holding pads or coaching. I would say I'm still equally as passionate about what I do, but my day-to-day looks very different. So for me, at some point, I think once you do start your business, and for a lot of people, they are the ones that are doing the fulfillment. And then at a certain point, like you said, you realize that there's only so much time in the day, and if you want to have the impact you want to have, you need to bring other people on board. And for me, not that I had an identity crisis, but it's like the gym, I was training everyone knew me, and like, you know, it was quote unquote my gym, but now like I'm doing none of the classes. And it's like, you feel a little bit of like a detachment, whereas before you felt, you know, very, very attached to it. And it's kind of like, you just got to like take a moment and realize, well, you know, you could be thinking that your days looking like you're training people all the time, and now you're just looking at spreadsheets as an example, you know. Not to say that's what you're going to do as a HeatFit franchisee, but you're focusing on the problems that only you can solve. And then you kind of have to reframe it in your mind, obviously, as you grow and scale. It's like, no, I'm passionate about the outcome of what I do. I'm passionate the fact that we have a gym and hundreds of people are going to that gym and they're getting fitter and their lives are changing from the result of what I'm doing. Whether I'm passionate about looking at a spreadsheet or making a call, that's relevant. I'm passionate about the outcome. Have you had a similar experience where obviously when you started, you were the one kind of doing everything and you have to kind of relinquish control and get other people to do the thing? Yeah, definitely. No, for sure.
I've definitely had a similar thing for sure, because even now, obviously we haven't even been open a year yet, but for me, and from advice from you and advice from even all the other business owners that I've spoken to, they're always like, mate, best thing I can say is like, take a step back from your business, be focused on working on the business, not in the day-to-day, freaking with the hammer in your hand going for it. Like, take a step back, focus on working on the business, and you know, that's what's really going to push it forward. So I've taken that advice, you know, pretty strongly, where I am trying to do my best to, like, you know, let people really take stride in their roles. You know, like if you're a coach, like I want you really passionate about being coaching. But like you said, like you've got people like from when we first started, and you go into the gym like, oh mate, how come you're not like running, when are you going to run classes again? Or even the kids, oh Harvey, how come you're not our coach anymore? And you know, that kind of stuff. And every now and then it does kind of sting you. And I had a kid literally say it to me the other day, like, oh, how come you never coach us anymore? Like, you're my favorite coach. And it was just like, oh, my heart. I was like, what do you mean? I'm right here. You know what I mean? Like, I'm standing right here. And they're like, oh, but you're not our coach anymore. So it is kind of like, yeah, I had a similar kind of experience where I was kind of like, oh, you know, because they're your members and you really obviously want the best for them always, and you love being around it and involved in it. But like you said, if you want to have the impact that you want to have on your community, you have to delegate that work to other people and, you know, other coaches to be able to really stride in their role and take ownership in their role. Because yeah, if we want to go out and open up 1 million of these things, we can't be in there with the microphone on running the class. It's going to be too hard. So, but yeah, it kind of was definitely a big shift. It was probably good that I was working at Melton for a little bit on like the sales, and I had that initial kind of step back where I was kind of not in the classes as much. But I think when they're your own, you know, members in your own blood, you're like, oh, it's a bit different, isn't it? But no, I had a similar kind of experience, I guess, for sure.
No, it definitely is different, mate. And after you guys' grand opening, you went from 0 to 500 plus members in just a matter of months, which is far more than any boutique gyms can achieve ever. Walk us through that process, and did that exceed your expectation, or is that kind of what you were anticipating?
I think it definitely, we were kind of like, because at that point we knew what we were doing in Melton. We thought there's no reason that it's not going to do the exact same thing in Hoppers. So we did kind of have these kind of expectations, but at the same time, I tried to compare it back to like when we were in Melton at the first location. And obviously we had COVID and things like that, of course, which was definitely a big speed hump. Or like a freaking Great Wall of China that we had to get over. But thinking back to like Melton, when we had 400 members up until, we were like three and a half years into it, and we were only at 400 members then, which was, you know, many years into it. And then to think we got 500 members in, you know, pretty much 6 months exactly, was like, damn, like we just did 3.5 years of work in, you know, 6 months. What the hell? So it was, we were kind of anticipating it, but at the same time, it definitely went a lot further than kind of we expected. This first 12 months, we were only expecting to get to 400 and we got to 500 in 6 months. So, I mean, I think that speaks volumes in itself, that's for sure. So yeah, it's definitely kind of exceeded things for sure. And even at times, like I remember when we were running even the fight programs and things, and we'd come in on a Friday night and there'd be 80 people at the gym on a Friday night at 7:30 at night. I was like, mate, I was like, this is crazy. Like we just opened up here and I have almost a room of 100 people on a Friday night that could be doing anything else. They're here to train at my gym. This is unbelievable. So no, it definitely has kind of blew the roof off the expectations, definitely.
Have you been surprised of the financial success of your location?
Yeah, it's weird. It's so weird because you go from like, making, $30 an hour or whatever it is to then, it's like tens of thousands of dollars a month, and you're just kind of like, and even for me, it's very strange. Like it is kind of strange, and I kind of like, I'm at a point now where I kind of disconnect from it now. When it was first happening, like the first month, you're like, what the hell? Like 45, 50 grand in a month? Like, dude, this is a people's year salary I just made in 30 days. What the hell? So that's been a huge shift for me. But then obviously you have huge bills, like, got $40,000 of outgoings every month. So that's always a bit of a worry as well. But obviously there's a lot of inflow now. So yeah, but now I'm kind of like disconnected from it now. I'm just like, oh, it's numbers on a screen. It's like a video game where if you're playing GTA, it's just like, it's nice, but it's not like, you're like, whoa, like it's constantly blowing your mind. It is still blowing your mind, like when you sit back and you go, what the hell, like this is crazy to think about. But the jump it's been so strange to go from, an hourly wage to like, that kind of financial difference has been massive. So it's been, and even like things like, you speak to your friends or your family and they're just like, they're looking at you like, you've just won the lottery, and you're like, dude, I'm the same dude I was 6 months ago, like Jesus Christ, so, but it's been a huge difference. It's definitely something to get adjusted to, that's for sure. Just because, and I'm only young as well, so it is something to definitely get used to, but not anything that I'm taking for granted, that's for sure. It's amazing, and I'm very blessed, so just going with the ride,
Absolutely, mate.
Just making the calls and sending the emails, That's all I'm doing.
Yeah, well, Harv, you're our first and most successful franchisee. That's a title you're going to have to hold, mate.
I'm going to.
As they start coming, you're going to make sure you keep them in line. So big shoes to fill, mate, but no doubt we've got full confidence with you, mate, and we obviously look forward to growing together and taking over the world.
Amen, brother. Amen.